stress or depression, right? So which are the byproducts of mental health not being good. So what are the common misconceptions about mental health and the brain activity, and how it impacts one person's life?
Actually, this is a very good question because, first of all, what is this misconception and how is it generated? So, misconception is basically because of either the person is having half knowledge or is indifferent towards that topic. So, misconception does not arise from lack of knowledge. If you do not have knowledge at all or do not know at all, okay, you are innocent. Okay, you are in the safe side. So I think so I will give you some first talk about misconceptions about mental health and also how it is can be related to the brain. Okay, so first I think people think or assume that a person who is visiting a counselor or a psychologist is insane, especially if you see in countries like in India or in the Asian countries, you will see that mental health is taken like a taboo-like thing, and people do not want to talk freely about this because they think, what will others say? If I tell someone that okay, I'm going to seek help from a counselor, they might say, oh, I have some problem in the wiring of my brain. So I may be socially excluded, and which no one wants, especially
Right.
in a collectivist society in Asia. So this is one of the misconceptions that people have. I say no, if I'm going to counselor, it doesn't always mean that I am um, I'm insane. Okay. The second the second is that um, when we say healthy, a person is healthy, we generally tend to associate with our physical. Okay, like if you say that I'm not healthy, which means that I have some physical disturbances. Like for example, if someone asks the person that okay, how are you doing these days, that person will say, oh, I know I have recovered these days, I don't suffer from high blood pressure, my sugar is in control, okay, I'm having a good life now, I go for exercise every day in the morning. But how often do you hear people saying that I am feeling happy these days. I had a lot of excitement. You don't hear many people saying that because people tend to ignore or even forget that there is mental aspect of that. So this is one of the misconceptions when you are saying that how is your health? Health is not only about the physical health, but mental health also has to be considered. So I consider this point as a misconception. Um, the third point I would like to make is that some people think that poor mental health is genetic in nature, that is, it is hereditary. So if one person in the generation, if one of the ancestors have some mental illness, it can pass down to the generations. So on one side, if we see, yes, it is true. Like for example, people suffering from schizophrenia or psychotic disorders, you will find in the family tree that maybe not in the previous generation, but even 2 or 3 generations before, some people have had suffered at that moment. But um, but we should not take this for granted or take this as a general rule that yes, that this mental illness can come only when you have someone in your hereditary line. So for example, um, you can develop even if you do not have someone in the past. Like for example, let me give a very good example. um, let's say, I don't know, giving my personal experience. So when I was going through my class 11 and 12 boards, I used to take stress a lot. Okay, because I had to finish this chapter, I had to get good marks in the exam, and sometimes my parents were happy that I was studying well, but sometimes they used to say, these days people take children like you take so much stress, even if you have so many resources. In our time, we did not have electricity, but still we studied, we struggled, but we never took stress like you. And this is a very good observation. You should take this seriously. So, which means that this is possible that our generations they did not suffer from mental illness, but still we are taking the stress, and that stress over time, when it becomes repeated and prolonged for longer time, can actually become a mental illness. So which means that it is not always genetic in nature. Okay. So the fourth misconception that I would like to say is that poor mental health is not equal to insanity or mental illness. So it's like saying, if you say that, if I'm saying that, oh, I am not in good mental health, you should not associate and tell me that Sujata is mad. Sujata should be admitted to a mental hospital. No, it's not like that. If you say that these or assume this, you are like saying, okay, I am having fever and cold, which means that I'm definitely having a malaria. Does it happen? No. Whenever we have a fever and cold, we go to the doctor and ask, what is that? And most of the time, it's not malaria. It's like that. So when you are in a poor mental state, you must say that something is happening that is affecting your peace, that is, you are not peaceful, so you go to somewhere for seeking the help. So it does not necessarily mean that I need electric shock for rewiring my brain. Okay, by the way, electric shocks are banned in most countries.
Right.
So this is one of the misconception. Okay, now I will say regarding the brain. So our brain controls our thought processes and the emotions. So most people say that if we are emotionally not well, or if we are having disturbed thought processes, so we'll go to the doctor, and the doctor will give us medications that will directly affect our brain, and then we'll be well. No, it's not like you break your bones, and then doctor prescribes the medicines, and your bones become it gets healed. No, it's not like that actually. Okay, so we should understand our brain involuntarily controls. Involuntarily means without our efforts, our brain controls many our body. So but we can also make the voluntary decision, and that is how what we say that conscious processing comes to being. So we cannot just blame the brain for what we are. We can also help ourselves in identifying what mental disturbances or mental how to say um, mental abnormalities, okay, we are going through by identifying, and that recognize that requires the conscious effort of ourselves. The other point that I would like to say misconception is that some people think that mental health is equivalent to mental handicap, mental handicapness, you can say. Like for example, some patients, they have some problem, let's say in the tumor in the brain, or they have suffered a brain stroke, and some part of the brain might be removed by the neurosurgeons. So in that case, their brain part is removed, and they may suffer from some disability. Maybe they cannot move their hands and limbs for the rest of their lives, or maybe they cannot speak properly for the rest of their life, or throughout the life they have to suffer from some physical ailments as a side effect because that particular brain area is removed. Now you cannot say that person is mentally ill. No, that person is completely fine. Okay, that is just that there is some disability which is reflected through that. So you cannot say that that person is suffering from mental health. Maybe if the person accepts himself or herself, saying that, okay, I accept, this is how I'm going to be for the rest of the life, he is happy, he is content, so he does not need anyone's help, he's happy. But on the other hand, if you see, there are some people, okay, working day and night to achieve targets, and at night they come back home and they smoke 10 cigarettes continuously. And when you ask them, why do you smoke so much, they say, it relieves me of the stress. Then in that case, that person whose brain is still intact actually requires more medical help. It needs, because he's going through stress and his mental health is very bad condition. So he is the person who is having the poor mental health, and not the person who does not have an area of a brain. So mental health should not be directly is not equal to you can say a lack of brain area, or
Right.
of the physical disability.
Yeah. So now, having said all the misconceptions noted, so what are the effective strategies for improving one's mental well-being as per the neuroscience?
Okay, so the first one I'd like to say is be conscious. Okay, being conscious. So being conscious means being aware of what we're doing. Like before some time I said that we cannot blame the brain of its function. Sometimes we can also voluntarily control of our brain, so that brain behaves like how we want it to behave. So this is what I'm saying, being conscious, and for that we can make use of the prefrontal cortex. Now, because you are saying how we can make use of the neuroscience, so prefrontal cortex is somewhere here in the brain, which is responsible, which is mainly involved in planning, also being conscious, being aware of what you are doing and not simply blindly following things. So this is also responsible for the mental aspects. Okay, so it is very important when you are planning and monitoring regularly your mental health. Okay, like for example, let's say you are saying that one of the strategy, one of the ways is use the prefrontal cortex is to like choose the stimuli wisely. Like you see, our brain, when it involuntarily controls or processes the things in the stimuli. By stimuli, you mean the things whatever you are exposed to in your environment, right? We say like, sorry, you are walking in the street, so the things that you are seeing around you are visual stimuli. The sounds that you are hearing, they are the auditory stimuli. You are eating food, you are getting the stimuli through through taste. So basically, stimuli are all the inputs that are received by the brain through our sense organs. Okay, so now if you can control, if you're conscious enough that okay, and conscious enough means what is causing me, what is distracting my mood, let's say emotional. So being with unhappy people, being with people who all the time complain, that gives me stress, that has a negative effect on me. That means they are the stimuli. So I should avoid that social environment. Okay, I should choose choose good company of people. If I think that okay, I'm having, let's say, I'm having alcohol daily just to get rid of my pain and be happy. But at the end of the day, in the morning, you realize when you go through the withdrawal symptoms that it's not good. Actually, it is very difficult for me to get out of it. And then you start seeing the side effects on your body. So if you're conscious enough at that time and you know that, okay, this is the factor that is affecting or the changing my mood or changing my behavior, changing my emotional balance, that means you are making use of your prefrontal cortex by being a little bit conscious. So this is how you can you can make use of the neuroscience. Secondly, I'd like to say utilizing the top-down function of the brain. So for the layman audience, I would say that our brain processes in a two-way direction. It's like top-down and bottom-up approach. Okay, so bottom-up approach means, bottom means all our sense organs. So the stimuli are taken input by our sense organs, and those are feed into the brain. So it's like bottom up. Okay, and then depending upon your input, the brain gives you the output. It's like how we studied, right, in computer science. So computer is just a system. So if you are responsible for your bad code or errors in code, the output will be errors. So it's similarly like this. If you are seeing bad things, so obviously the brain will process that bad things and give you the bad output. But then the other way around, which we should make use of, and that is what is called the top-down approach. Top-down approach means the brain will use the perception of the stimuli and it will control your sense organs. Let's give an example. Let's say, Manas, you go to a movie theater and you are watching a movie, okay? Then you see the entry of a villain character. So the brain, you see the villain character, your eyes take the stimuli, goes to the brain, and the brain creates, okay, the brain tells you this person is a bad character. After 1 hour, you see that same villain appears in a very happy environment. You would definitely predict that this person is going to create some ruckus, or is going to have to cause trouble for everyone. This time, the brain has already the information about that person. So it's creating a percept and then giving back that information to your sense organs, you know, since this is top down. So what I'm saying is that we have to utilize. So for example, again, this is related to my the first point that I was saying, that being more conscious. So if you know that what stimuli to choose, what is the environment factor, what are the things that are making you affecting your mental health, then you can rewire your brain by making use of the percepts. Percepts means the belief.
Okay.
One
Okay.
sense. The third important is that to talk and listen approach. So if you are having some disturbances, you should not be afraid or should not be hesitant to talk out. And also, you should always be ready to listen to someone else. Let's say I'm always stress-taking person and I come and tell you, Manas, today I'm stressed because of this assignment. Manas, I am stressed because I did not get grade A. If I keep on coming and telling you each and every day, maybe someday you will think that stress is a natural thing and you will just start avoiding. You know, it's just an example. And you say, oh, next time, after say 2 months, if I come and tell you, oh, I'm feeling stressed, you say stress. ये तो तुम्हारा रोज की बात है. Every time you get stressed, so what is new even? This is our natural common thing which we all do, but that is
Right.
wrong. We should always listen out to the people. You know that listening is very important thing. When you listen to the people actually, you are already solving 50 or 60% of the others problem. So I think by talking and listening, this is what the psychologists and psychiatrists do. They just sit and listen. That's why some patients, they even fall in love with them. You know why? They're like, oh my god, they're such a nice person, they listen to me. All the Even if I am saying something that does not make sense, they listen. So why it is important from neuroscience respect? Because when by talking out and believing that some other person is listening to you, you are reducing the stimuli of thoughts in you, because most of the time these mental issues are created by the thoughts which are not necessarily true, right? So when you talk out, you are already flushing out those kind of extra thoughts which are in your brain. Then it induces less load on the hormones of the body. And remember, our nervous system, the brain, works in synchrony with our endocrine system, with our hormones. So these hormones will change or reduce the load on the chemical imbalance, and that will help in the state of the
Person.
neurons, how the neurons are, you say, I mean the electrochemical communication among the neurons. So this is how it leads to good mental health. The fourth way how you can make use of neuroscience for mental health is called metacognition. It's a little bit technical term, but metacognition is more about thinking about what you are thinking. So you are thinking something, so you should think that whether my thoughts are good or my thoughts are bad, whether my thoughts are necessary or I'm just overthinking or I'm just procrastinating. So this is called metacognition, you know, being conscious about what you are thinking. The fifth is that, of course, physical exercise and mental exercises. People want to mostly talk about physical exercises. I see, okay, you should do meditation, you should do yoga, you should run every day, you should walk every day. Why don't people practice mental exercises? Like, for example, simply revise the table. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2, 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. These are mental exercises, and those are very, very effective way, especially for all the people, also for the aged people. Like, for example, my parents are growing old, right? So I always recommend my mom, you know, you should not forget, recite the poems that you learned throughout when you were young. Like, for example, my mom is very good in remembering those long poems written by Rabindranath Tagore. So I tell you, you should not forget that. Try to remember those. Multiply. Okay, 10 multiplied by 1. Okay, it's easy. Do the 8. 8 multiplied by 1 is 8. 8 multiplied by 2 is 16. You have to keep on doing those kind of mental exercises. So that really helps in your mental health.